Welcome guys to another additional video of the full volume training course. Within this section I basically just wanted to do a quick market outlook on some of the pairs that I'm looking at this week, some of the stuff that is setting up right now, and kind of give you guys some insight on how I'm going about these pairs. What I'm going to be doing, if you guys notice on the right here, is I have a watch list here. We're going to go from the dollar index all the way down to euro yen. I haven't really done any type of full top-down analysis on these pairs yet, but I will be later on tonight. However, just want to show you guys these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. These 7 pairs, how I'm assessing them, how I'm going about them, and what I see in reference to structure. So let's get started. Dollar index to start off, we can see that momentum is majorly descending. We can see that the general direction is down. However, we can see in the shorter term right here, if we look into it, we can see that price has been making a nice uptrend or a nice impulsive movement to the upside. Now, we're at a very critical point right now within the dollar index because we can see that every single time we have approached this area near this weekly resistance / daily resistance and 0.382 handle of the fib, we can see a lot of rejection and a lot of deceleration that occurs. If you notice right here, what's occurring right now on the dollar is we are seeing some deceleration and exhaustion occurring after this last big impulsive movement to the upside. We know that due to the fact that we can see in previous structure, every single time we've attempted, we have rejected because we haven't been able to break above, and we have rejected into pushing lower. Same thing is occurring right here, right now. However, it's not going to be warranted as a downtrend until we break this current uptrend. From there, that will warrant a shift to the downside in the current momentum and a continuation of market's overall momentum. So now 2 scenarios can play out for the dollar index at this current point. Remember guys, we are currency traders, but more importantly, we do want to speculate on all scenarios that can play out. So if you notice with right here what is going on with the dollar index, like I said, 2 scenarios that can play out. We do have an inverted head and shoulders that is forming right here right now. What could easily happen is price could tap the trend, create a higher low, and make a big impulse to the upside, complete this inverted head and shoulders, and most likely result to the trend there. In the event that it does create a lower high on the trend, start to show some rejection and deceleration like it did from here. We see a lot of rejection and deceleration. From there, we should start be looking for sells to the downside. Now, if that movement does occur and we do start seeing price move to the upside after it completes this break of the inverted head and shoulders, what I will look for, like I stated before, is a nice impulse, create a lower high, and I'll look to take that big up move back to the downside. Now, the only way that I would continue to be looking for longs to the upside on the dollar index is if we did break this current downtrend. From there, that would warrant a big push to the upside. Now, let's say, for example, guys, that scenario does not play out. Apologies, let me erase everything for you here so it does look a lot cleaner. Usually I just do the edit undo, but that is not working out for us today. So, first scenario that I gave, whoops, don't want to get rid of those fibs, guys. There it goes, and there we go. Okay, so the first scenario I gave, guys, was we did see a inverted head and shoulders forming right here. What price could do is that it could bounce off of this trend. That would create a shorter term bull flag on the smaller time frames, and then from there we would need this neckline to break out, and that would warrant the continuation of the shorter term uptrend and bullish momentum. In the event we do crack that top area resistance, we can expect a tap of this trend here. Now at this point right here, guys, remember when 2 channels meet at the same point, we must wait for the daily close, whether price is going to continue that upwards momentum or start moving to the downside. Now, in the event that movement does not happen, what I will be looking for, guys, is I will be looking for this trend to crack, and from there for price to result way back down to the weekly support 91 handle right there. And then from there, price will have to decide whether it wants to break these lows and continue big to the downside, or it could simply do what it's been doing the whole time, just consolidating. If you just look at this general area, it's in a big range of rejection, a big consolidation box, right? So remember, guys, it's really no real long-term direction right now until we crack these floors. Then we can assume that we'll continue with the long-term direction to the downside. But when we get in situations like this where it consolidates, we're simply just looking for where the shorter term movements are. Is this going to break the top here and continue to create a lower high on the trend? Or is it going to break the smaller term uptrend and then make an impulse to the downside? Will be interesting, but right now, guys, it is making somewhat of a pizza box situation. Not really a pizza box situation. Some could call this maybe a, what's the acronym called? It's not a rising wedge. Some type of pennant. Apologies, guys. Memory's not there right now. However, those are the 2 scenarios that can play out. Price will either break the tops, go result there, potentially create a lower high, and from there it either continues to the upside or potentially continues to the downside. Only way we'll know is via the daily close. Now, if that does not happen, guys, then from there, what we'll be looking for is for price to break this current uptrend and look for that big impulse down to come back to these lows from there. Once that happens, it'll be interesting to see how structure will play out. That's dollar index. Going to the next pair, euro dollar. Very, very interesting scenario. So we can see structure's overall momentum is ascending. Structure's current momentum was ascending and now is currently in the smaller term downtrend. If we take a closer look at where price started to bottom out, we can see last week that price did make some impulsive movements to my rejection zone, my fire zone as I like to call it, and now is holding its base. It's starting to decelerate and it's starting to exhaust from its big movement to the downside. How do we know that? Look at all the candles, guys. Bullish hammer, inverted hanging man, doji, inverted hanging man, bearish candle, bullish hammer, and now it looks like we are breaking out of that smaller term downtrend. I will show you guys on the smaller time frames. What I think is going to happen on the euro is we can start to see a head and shoulders pattern form right there. What I think will happen is that this falling wedge will make a nice reversal there. We'll create a lower high on the trend. Now that'll either warrant another head and shoulders. That'll warrant a right shoulder of the head and shoulders, and from there what we're going to be looking for is the neckline break of the monthly support / my rejection zone, and then if that does happen, we can expect a big impulse to the downside. Now, just talking about a daily perspective, guys, right now. Now, this could, once again, break this falling wedge, result there, and then it could make a big impulse to the upside. The only way we'll know that is when we need to receive a daily close above this current downtrend. Remember, guys, when two channels meet at the exact same point, we must wait for either price to continue to the upside or for price to continue to the downside. But that's what could potentially happen on the daily chart. If we take a look at the smaller time frames, we can see right here that structure has been majorly descending. The bears are definitely in control. However, we can see within this smaller term structure right here, we can see a falling wedge currently happening, right? And what that basically means, guys, is that we do have this solid downtrend that's occurring, but notice how price is starting to shift its lows, right? It is making lower lows. However, notice what we're looking for is a potential higher low from these last two lows. So the only way we know that this falling wedge is going to complete is if we break the tops there. Then we definitely know that we're going to see a big impulse to the upside. If you notice, guys, notice how price is failing to break below my rejection zone, below my fire zone. Notice every single time what price does when it fails to do that, it makes a pop to the upside, right? Past predicts future. That's what we're trying to do. That's what the art of technical analysis states. Every single time we reject there, make a big movement up. What we could expect here is another big movement up. Now, once again, guys, in the smaller time frames, right, what I would like to see here is price either breaks these lows here, and we can expect a big impulse down, most likely down to the 0.382. Now, if price fails to make that big impulsive movement to the downside, then what I would like to see is this. Price break these tops here, and I will take the buy for a shorter term buy into that fire zone or rejection zone, which you can see there. Now, if that doesn't happen, then what I would like to see is price potentially come here. That creates even a bigger bear flag, and I'd look to take the big push back to the downside. Or, guys, what could happen, once again, I think I did state this before. Apologies if I'm all over the place. A little bit too much caffeine. Just kidding, guys. But what I would like to see is price does break out of this downtrend. It does break above the tops. I will ride this to here. Close position here. Let's see if it can create a lower high on the trend, and from there it either continue to the upside or continue to the downside. Remember, when two channels meet at the exact same point, we want price to decide what it wants to do. So, but my bias right now in the euro is, only way I could take a buy off of this shorter term is if we crack these tops. You might say, well, why do we need to crack those tops? Because I'm not trying to sit in consolidation all day long. So I need these tops to be cracked, and I'll take the buy to that level there. Now, if we don't crack those tops, then I'll be looking for those bottoms to crack near there. If that doesn't happen, I'm going to let price range and not even touch it. Okay. So buy signal will be above here. Sell signal will be above here. Now, if price does, I'll take the shorter term buy, and then from there I'll decide whether I want to take a bigger term sell to the downside or if I want to start looking for big buys to the upside. But if not, guys, price needs to crack the tops. I'll take the buy, crack the bottoms, I'll take the sell. If it doesn't, it's going to sit in consolidation. We are not interested in that. We're interested in straight movement shots, free-flowing trades, right? So a couple different ways that can play out. UJ, guys, UJ on the daily right now is just simply consolidating after all of this impulsive movement, right? This is a candlestick play, guys, textbook candlestick play. Impulsive movement to the upside, decelerate or exhaust somewhat near a major level, not the most major, but near a daily resistance area, okay? So no real direction right now on UJ, guys, because you guys can just see it's just sitting within a major zone of, whoops, that's a terrible rectangle, just a major zone of consolidation, right? No real bias right now. So what we're looking for is for those shorter term directions, for us price to give us a bias on what could potentially happen. We can see right here, guys, that in the last 4 or 5 days of trading, price has simply just consolidated between the 113.20 handle to about the 112.20 handle. So about a 100 pip range, but you guys might think, oh, let's get those 100 pips. Not worth trading within this. Remember, guys, we want free-flowing trades, not consolidated trades. So we can see, though, that price has been making continuous higher lows. So one of two ways this could play out. Bounces off this trend, breaks the tops here, and runs straight to the weekly resistance. One scenario. B, the smaller uptrend could break, this floor could break, and can run straight back down to the 0.236, maybe even into the weekly support. For me to take either direction, guys, price needs to break out of this consolidation. I'm not taking these shorter term buy signals to the top. I'm not taking these shorter term sell signals to the bottom. It's not worth trading within the consolidation. I want to see the cracks, the tops cracked, or I want to see the bottoms cracked, and I can take a direction either way. If that doesn't happen, simply sitting in consolidation, I let it be. That's what's going on with UJ right now. So just to run over the scenario one more time, if we crack the tops, I'll look for maybe some type of impulsive movement. I'll look for some type of bull flag and take that to the upside. Now, if we barely just crack the tops and create one of these little structures, a little break plus a nice retest, I'll take that to the upside. Two ways I'd play that. If it did something like this, I want to see a big impulse down because I want to see that uptrend break, and in addition, I want to see that support break. I'll look for some type of bear flag to form, and then I'll take that to the downside, okay? So that would be the sell signal for me to play. If not, I want to see if it can trickle down and from there start doing this little consolidation pattern. From there, I'd play the breaks of the floors and take that back to the downside. So will totally depend on how structure plays out, guys, but regardless, this consolidation needs to break for me to have a direction. If not, I'm not touching UJ. AUD, USD, we can see that we are in this overall downtrend, expecting to start testing that minor uptrend right there. Sorry, guys, that should be switched to right on the wick there, not running through the candle, so I will adjust that. There we go. Okay, so we can see that AUD, USD is majorly descending after that current uptrend did get cracked. We can see two types of trends that are currently being formed. If we go into the smaller time frame, we can see that price is majorly descending from one trend and also also descending in from another trend. Okay, what we can currently be seeing right now is price is decelerating near the 0.5 level. Not necessarily regarded as the strongest level, but this was regarded as a stronger level if we can see there, and we did make a nice crack through to it. Do I believe AUD has a nicer impulse to the downside, or still has one more left in the tank? Absolutely. But we can see, if we go into the 1 hour time frame here, we can see this smaller downtrend currently forming. So what I would like to see currently happening on the AUD is this, guys. Just going back on the 4 hour. I would like to see price come back up here, create a lower high, and play that bear flag back to the downside. Now, if that doesn't happen and price simply just trickles like this, I need to see these lows crack right below the 0.5. Then I would most likely take it straight down to the 0.618, which coincides with that overall uptrend. Now, if price does break below this current downtrend, I need to receive that on the daily, then I can start looking for buys. Only and only I can look for buys if the daily downtrend does break. If not, I'm only looking for sell setups. The sell setups would be the break of the floor here, or a nice impulse, reject the trend, create a lower high, create a nice bear flag, and we can take that back to the downside. GBP USD. We can see once again that we are majorly descending, guys. We are impulsively descending. Why are we impulsively descending? Because this was impulsively ascending, guys. Remember, what comes up must come down, right? Impulsive to the upside, textbook candlestick play, guys. Remember, we signaled this 2 weeks ago. Impulsive movement to the upside, decelerates at a major level, monthly resistance, right? Once we get that nice, solid crack above that impulsive uptrend, look how quickly it sells off. Why does it sell off so quickly? There's nothing in its way to stop it, no real structure. Simply just free falls. Take a look at the smaller time frames right now. We can see that price is creating this beautiful bear flag, looking for that one more impulse back to the downside. Somewhat of the same structure as the AUD USD that we just went over. What I would like to see here, guys, is price to break this smaller term uptrend. From there, I also want to see a break of this 2-hour support being given right there. I will make it a little bit clearer for you guys so you guys can see that. So if we go back to the 2-hour, sorry about that, guys. Notice how this 2-hour is creating a 2-hour level of support right within there. If we can get a crack of this 2-hour support here, I will start looking for entries to the downside. That will warrant the bear flag completion, and in addition, the confirmed break by rejecting the previous level it broke. From there, I will look to run the trade all the way down to its floor, which is near the 0.5. From there, I will simply close out my trade, and let's see what price can do. Is it going to break the floors, or is it going to result back up to the trend? Okay. Now, same thing as the AUD USD, guys. Like I said before, looking for that bear flag to break, I will take it down to the floors, close my trade. Now, if that doesn't happen, what I think could happen is price could consolidate, create a lower high on the trend, and from there, I would look for the big impulsive down back to the floor, close my trade there. Now, if price breaks above that trend, need to wait for the daily downtrend to break. On the daily, need a daily close, and then from there, I can start looking buys back into the previous rejection zone. Now, only way though I can take further continuations to the sell if one of those two sell patterns complete is I need these floors to break that 0.5. Then I can start running it down to the 38.2, which coincides right with that overall uptrend. So 3 biases on this, guys. That bear flag breaks, we take it to the floor. Then from there we close our trade and we look for this floor to break, and we can take it one more leg down to the 38.2 and overall trend. From there we want to be looking for big buys to the upside. Unless that overall uptrend breaks, then we want to still be looking for continued sells. Or price simply consolidates, creates a lower high on the trend, rejects the trend, and makes a big impulse down back to the floor, and then same scenario follows. Floor needs to break, we can take it lower. Last scenario that could play out, guys, is price does break this current downtrend, need a daily break plus, and then from there we can start looking for the big buys back into the previous rejection zone. USD CAD and then Euro JPY, last two, guys. USD CAD in a little bit of a funky decision, or a funky situation right now. Just broke this major downtrend, but we still are majorly descending all the way from this high near here. Pulled that on the weekly time frame as well. If we can take a look at the smaller time frame. So guys, just to reiterate that we are overall ascending for the current moment because we did break that daily downtrend, that long-term daily downtrend. If we take a look at the CAD in a smaller term structure, we do have a 3-trend fan system out. 1, 2, and 3. I guess this wouldn't be a 3-trend fan system. I guess it would be a 2-trend fan system. Apologies, guys. So we can see overall momentum is occurring off of that trend there. We can see a shorter term momentum occurring off of that trend there. We can see constant higher lows being created on the trend, and what we could be potentially looking for is maybe one more higher low near there. However, interesting enough, and I called this out on the signals section, that this potential falling wedge could break. If the falling wedge does break, what we could look for is maybe one more impulse to the daily resistance. Now, a couple different scenarios that we can see play out. Real quick though, you want to note that there is this head and shoulders potentially forming. One more leg here can play the neckline break to the downside, trend neckline break to the downside, or we can play just the 0.236 and monthly support neckline break to the downside. These are how the scenarios are going to play out, guys. Falling wedge breaks. Price moves, creates a double top, will result to that trend there, or this trend here could create a higher low and make a big impulse to the upside. Now, let's say, for example, it doesn't make the big impulse to the upside and does create a double top and then results down. If this breaks, I'll be looking for this neckline to break before I could be taking any type of sells and running that straight down into the rejection zone, which kind of coincides with a higher low and that overall uptrend I just showed you guys. Now, what also could potentially happen is price could create that double top, do something like this, break the smaller term 4-hour support, start bouncing off of this neckline of the head and shoulders, start to create that right shoulder near there, and then make the big impulsive movement to the downside. This has a lot of different scenarios, USD CAD. Or that double top never has to happen. We can see a little bear flag forming right there. What it could do is make a big impulse down, create the higher low, make a big impulse up. Now, if that doesn't happen, it could create the bear flag near there, break this whole trend near here again, that trend neckline. Once again, guys, though, I want to see that neckline break, that 23.6. So I guess to put it in the most simplest terms, the only way I'm taking sells is if this 23.6 breaks. The only way that I'm taking buys is if this daily resistance breaks. If not, you guys would say, well, Albert, why don't you trade within its room? Well, guys, what's it in? Consolidation. I'm not interested in that. I want a free-flowing trade. So I know, guys, maybe a little bit confusing of how I was explaining it, but a bunch of different examples on the way CAD could play. Reason being is there's a couple of different patterns forming. We have a bear flag, we have a head and shoulders forming, as well as we are overall ascending. But in the most simplistic terms, 23.6 has got to crack, top's got to crack, or I'm not trading in this consolidation. Simple as that. If you guys want to know the other scenarios that would have played out, these are the list of them below. Head and shoulders to start off with. Two ways this head and shoulders pattern could play. They could do something like this, create that right shoulder, that trend neckline could break, could do something like that, create another flag, go below the 0.236 in neckline, create another flag, and then from there make a big impulse down to the overall trend. Create a higher low on the trend from there. Other way that head and shoulders pattern could play out is it never really respects that trend neckline, just starts coming, creates that head and shoulders, then comes straight down to the neckline. We'll be looking for that neckline break, and then from there the big impulse down. The way the buy signal would be created is if the price does either break the tops here and makes a big impulse to the upside, or if price starts to come down to one of these two, sorry guys, really bad drawing of that trend, one of these two trends near here and bounces off one of these and makes the big impulse to the upside. Still though guys, the only way a buy signal is going to be created is if we break the tops. The only way a sell signal is going to be created if we break the lows. If not, it's simply going to consolidate. We're not interested in that. Last but not least, Euro JPY. I did a quick markup on this guys though, but we can see that structure is overall ascending, and for the short term just broke that minor uptrend. Has not created a clear definitive trend just yet. That's why I've shown this smaller term descending trend. We can see that we're making constant lower highs, and we can also see that we are seeing a smaller term bear flag occurring right there. Now would you guys say, well Albert, will you take the trade near here and run it to the neckline? I will not guys, because look what we're still sitting within. Consolidation. Not interested in that. Just simply pointing this trend out just to see how price respects. This is how structure is going to play out guys. If it breaks this uptrend, we'll come back down to this base of the daily support. Only way for me to take a sell signal is if we do crack this daily support, and I will run it down to the next major bottom of this daily support, which coincides with this area of consolidation. Now if that sell signal does not occur, price could break this current downtrend. Only way that I would take the buy is if we break the tops near here. From there I would take the movement to the upside. You guys might be asking, well, why are you just not taking, when price starts to break out? We'll look at it from a bigger perspective. We're simply sitting within consolidation. I am not interested in trading in this. I want price to have clear views on which way it's going to move. We either break the tops, we go higher. We break the lows, we go lower. Just simply pointing out the patterns to see what is more likely to happen. If we break this trend, we're most likely going to come down to this trend, and we could test breaking those lows. Still, this smaller term uptrend would need to be broken, and these lows. Now, if that doesn't happen, guys, I don't care if it makes a big impulse and creates a smaller term bull flag. I still want these highs to be cracked, and then from there I can take it to the upside. I don't want to be trading in consolidated fields. You guys might say, oh, well, look, guys, that's still, 67 pips to the upside, but this is more probable taking it up here, the 128 from the high of this to the high of that, rather than taking from here to here. Simply because we know that if we break these highs, momentum is definitely a buy for the short term, and will most likely tag these tops. That's why I just want either in this scenario the highs to break or the lows to break. If not, it's just going to consolidate. Guys, this is how I typically run through some of my setups, go through examples of how I'm banging out my setups and things of that nature. I apologize if this was a little bit rushed. I was just trying to fit in as much information as I possibly can in the shortest span of time. These are just giving mere market outlooks on how I would take the trades, how I go about to take the trades, and things of that nature. If you guys notice, I'm simply doing all these top-down analysis setups, setting my alert, and then from there simply waiting for my alerts to trigger. Once they trigger, I go to my chart, I see if structure shows confirmation, and from there I look to see if the trade is validated. And then from there I take the trade. It's that easy, guys. Do your hard work on the weekends, let the trades develop, and then from there pull accordingly. This will be another video that will be added into the additional video section of the full volume training course. It will be titled under a market sentiment video. I hope you guys really enjoyed this video. Tell me, send me a message if you guys want more videos like this. All these additional videos is just here to give you guys more insight, more information on how these plays could potentially play out. Let me know what you guys think, and I all hope that you guys enjoyed this additional video. Have a great day, guys.